Hello, it's Mark here again from GreenTreeGames.com, online game store and blog, and we're here to do an overview of the game Descent, the second edition of Descent. So we've done the unboxing, you've seen the bits come out, and this is where we show you how to play the game roughly. I'm going to step you through what all the cards do, what a rough turn does, what actions you can do, and show off some of the cool bits, hopefully. So, as per usual, we'll look at what we start with. So you can see here, we have the starting map. Now this is the first quest in the game. I think it's designed to be an introductory one, designed to be nice and easy. There's a lot of quests in the quest book, and there's a full campaign in the quest book as well, which I'll talk about later. So there's lots of replayability in there, which is good. Now, in the unboxing I went through the quest log, and I was quite secretive, so nobody saw it because I didn't want to spoil anything. But that was my mistake, because it's not really that kind of a game. There's no exploration as such. The map is out. When you start, the map goes down and the monsters goes down. That's it. So I suppose in that regard, it's a little bit more tactical. It's a bit more of a tactical game, or a grid-based strategy game rather than a dungeon crawler. But anyway, it's chock full of fantasy themes, so we're okay. So that's the starting map. These little circles here are our search tokens. That's where we can go as heroes and go and find goodies, hopefully. If you look over here, we've got the three characters we've selected. So it's a four-player, well, there's four heroes, or four players who play the heroes, and one Overlord who plays all the baddies. There's 8 to choose from, I think, 8 characters to choose from, so lots of choice. Now, so if we pick on this guy to begin with, that's your speed, that you can move, that's the health, that's how many hits you can take. Your fatigue, which is an important value we'll get to a little later, and that's your defence, that's the dice you roll to defend yourself. Also, you've got attributes down here that you can use for skills to try and pull off certain abilities. Here you've got a hero ability that is on all the time and relevant to you, so keep an eye on that because it's always going to come into play. And down here is a feat. You can use it once per encounter, then you flip it over and you can't use it again. All these little symbols will explain when we get into the rules, so don't worry about that. Each hero also starts off with a couple of basic abilities. As you get bigger and better, and as you complete encounters and get experience points, you can buy more of these cards that do cool things. That's your starting equipment down there, and that's the starting character. We'll explain what all the little bits do as we go along. We've got some cards here. We've got shop cards, so you can buy things from the shop in between quests. If you notice, some of these cards have a little 2 on, and some of them have a little 1 on. That's if you're playing the campaign, and we'll get to that again later on. Search deck, if you search something. If you find one of those little search tokens, you pull the cards from this deck. So we'll go through that. The other cards we'll go through as time goes on. Monster cards. Now, depending on what the adventure is, the Overlord gets a certain kind of monster. So again, there's a little 1 there, which means these are Act 1 monsters. And there's 2 colours of monsters, tan ones, or cream as I call them, and red ones. So there's minions and masters. So the top bit is for a minion, and the bottom bit is for a master. So obviously the master is going to be slightly better. And it's a similar kind of stat. So green is helpless, that's the speed, that's the health, that's how much damage they can take, and that's their defence dice. And then we've got some special abilities they've got there as well, which are explained at the back. Also at the back on this little card, if you look at the bottom, it's 2 players, 3 players, and 4 players. Well, 4 good guys rather, and it tells you how many you get. So if you had 2 good guys, you get 1 minion of this type. 3, you get 1 master of this type, and 4, 1 of each. Now I've pulled these cards, and I'm using these cards, an Ettin and a Goblin Archer, because the quest told me to. So there's lots more monsters to use, and all of these are used as you go further on into the quests, and they get bigger and harder. But these are just supposed to ease you into it, I guess. I also have Overlord cards. I have a deck of 15, At the start of the game I pull 1 per player, so I've got 3. These let me do nasty things to the good guys, hopefully. And I think that's pretty much the basic setup. So now what we need to do is start smashing things, hopefully. So, just so you know, the quest has an objective. Now, it's a little bit odd in my eyes because I'm used to heroes dying, I'm used to bad guys killing good guys to win. However, in this game, the good guys never actually die. You get knocked down, and then when it's your next turn, you can get back up, and we'll go into that when we go into the rules. But the win condition for the baddies doesn't seem to be kill the good guys. It's something else. So, for example, in this one, what we have to do is the goblin archers move off the map through the exit, and each time a goblin archer moves off the map, the Overlord places 1 fatigue token in each player. So essentially, my archers need to get from there to the exit. Sorry, to there. So I'm trying to get these archers off there, and every time I do, I get a marker, which just means I've done it. So essentially, once I've got 5, is it 5? Once I've got 5 goblins off, I've won. Okay. However, if Mauler, which is the big guy, is defeated by the good guys win. So each quest has a similar kind of victory condition. It's not just kill the other person, there is an objective. So in this particular setup, that's what I'm doing, the bad guy I'm trying to do. Good guy's trying to stop me. So we would start by placing the heroes on the entrance tile, which is there. Obviously there's tons of the tiles, indoors and outdoors, ready to rock and roll on the other quests. This is just the starting one. So what we do to begin with is the heroes have their turn. Now the heroes decide amongst themselves which order the players want to go in. One person has their turn, then the next person, the next person. There's no intermingling. But you can choose which order to go in because it will be to your advantage in some occasions to change the order up. So what you would do is the first person who decides to go, so let's say it's this person here, the paladin kind of a person. So when it's your turn, when it's the hero's turn, you can do 2 actions. And those 2 actions include attacking, moving up to your speed, which in that case is 4 for that guy. Searching, if you're next to a search token, so you can pull a card and get something good. Resting, if you have too much fatigue, get to that in a minute. Stand up if you've been knocked down, dead essentially, you can get back up again. Perform a skill, open or close a door, or help one of your guys. So there's a lot there to remember, but it's on a little handy card. So super simple. So to begin with, what I can do is I've got 2 actions, so I want to leg it down, so I'll move. So I'll use 1 action to move. My card says I've got a pace of 4, so I can go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now moving in this, they've tried to keep everything as simple as possible. So diagonals are allowed. Blocked diagonals are allowed, which is a bit of a rarity, to be honest, not usually the case. The only thing you can't do is move through other bad guys. You can move through your own guys as long as you don't end in their square. So they've tried to simplify it as much as possible, because it can bog you down the rules really if you think about it too much. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I don't know if I've got any ranged abilities. So what I might do is I might change that so I can give you an example. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going 4 to there. Now I can attack. 2 actions. I'm going to move and I'm going to attack. So when you attack, this is where the good stuff happens. So we'll go into the card. The first thing we've got to do is we have to pick what we want to equip. So we're going to declare what weapon we want to use and the target. So in this case, obviously we're ranged, aren't we? So we'd want to use, this guy's got a bow, and I'm going to equip it, and he's got two hands, which basically means I can't use anything else. I've got some daggers here as well, can't use them, because there's only one hand. If I was using this guy over here, zip over, I have an option of using a staff with 2 hands, or I could use a mace and a shield, yeah, because they'd use a hand apiece. So that makes sense, that's sensible, and that's good. So we'll come back over to the bow. So what I do is I roll a blue dice and a yellow dice to try and hit. All of the abilities and all of the attacks have a colour-coded dice on to tell you what to attack. So let's do that. So here are the dice, a blue and a yellow. So those are the defence-related dice with little shields on. Obviously some better than others, black having lots of shields on, brown not so much. Was it the other way around actually, I'm not sure. But anyway, those are the defence dice, and these are the dice that we use for attacking people. So I'm going to roll a blue one and a yellow one. The more little hearts I get, the better, because that's how much damage I'm going to do to the other person. If I get this little lightning bolt, that's called a surge, which means I can do extra stuff with my attack. And because it's ranged, I'm also going to be looking for this little number, because that's how many spaces that it's going to fire. So in this case, I'm going to attack. I'm going to roll 2. Oh, look at that. So I've got a 6, which means I've gone 6 spaces. I've done 3 points of damage, and there's 2 surges I can fire off. So first of all, we'll go to the board. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that guy's in range, so I can hit him. That's a bonus. We'll come over to my bow over here, and if you notice those 2 little lightning bolts, those surges. So that means if I'd have only got 1, I would have had a choice as to which one to use. But I've got 2, so in theory I could use them both. One gives me 2 range, don't need it, and the other one lets me do another point of damage. This is brilliant. They're all different weapons. The surges do different things, so it's a good way of sort of mixing up all the different abilities of what they can do. So, in this example, I've done 4 points of damage, the surges give me another one, so that is 4 points of damage. Nearly there. Unfortunately, the goblin does, he's a minion, and he has 1 white dice to try and defend it with. So let's see. Oh, rubbish. So he's got 3. So I got 4. He defended with 3. So 1 got through. Okay? And he's got 2. So I very, very nearly killed him, but I didn't. So I'll put a wound on him over here. So we know that he's lost 1. And that's it. That's me taking a turn as a hero. I've done 2 things. And everybody else would do the same thing. One thing that we will mention at this point, let's zoom back down to here, and we mentioned fatigue, and it is quite important because a lot of these abilities, so if we take this one, when you or a hero within 3 spaces of you is attacked, before the dice are rolled, exhaust this card to add 1 additional grey dice to the hero's defence pool. Exhaust means you turn it like that. And it's just so you know you've used it, and you can't use it again until your next turn. Simple. But that 1 also means that I'm going to be fatigued, which means I get one of these. Right? Now, up on your card, I've got a stamina of 4. So I can fatigue myself 4 times, and then I can't do it anymore unless I take an action to rest. As soon as you take an action to rest, they all go, and then you can do whatever you want to do with that fatigue again. It's a clever way of limiting your special abilities. Because obviously, you know, you're heroes and you're awesome and all, you're not that awesome. So it's just a clever mechanic of doing that. What you can also use fatigue for is if you've moved all you move, or if you've done all your attack, if you just want to move the few more spaces, you can spend a fatigue to just go that extra way. So I could go, oh, I need to just get a bit closer. So I could have gone 1, 2, 3 maybe, and used 3 fatigue, and then if I was hand to hand, then I could have smacked him around the chops. So fatigue is pretty good for that, and important. Obviously it would be tedious to step you through every single card in the game, but you can get an idea the combination of deciding what weapons to equip, because you've decided two-handed or two one-handed, the surges you can use, being able to fatigue and use extra abilities. There's tons of abilities. In fact, you've really got to know your character very well so that you know what can happen at any given time, because a lot of the effects are triggered. Like, if this happens within 3 spaces, do this. So you've got to keep your wits about you. So what else? So at the end of my turn, so whatever I've done, I've taken 2 actions, then it's the end of my turn. One thing I will just quickly say, we've covered rest, you get all your fatigue back, you know that. The standing up, I guess, is important. So if I was to be reduced to 0 wounds and I was down, it's called knocked down basically, knocked down, then when it's my turn I can use an action to stand up. Now to stand up, and you'll just have to bear with me 2 seconds here. You simply just roll some dice, stand up. 2 red dice, and you recover damage for every heart you roll, and fatigue for every lightning roll. So in that case, I get 1 fatigue back, and I get 4 life back, and I'll stand back up. And hopefully at that point, a friend would have a healing potion to heal me and get me a little bit better than I was. What you can also do is, a friend can use an action next to you to revive you instead of you doing it. So it might be tactically advisable for somebody to get you up on your feet because you have whatever it is needed to progress. So that's the hero's turn. At the end of the hero's turn, you flip your card over so you know that you've done. Once all the heroes have been, it's the Overlord's turn. Super simple. Any of my abilities that I've exhausted, like that card, but for mine I'd flip them. I draw 1 fresh Overlord card every turn. There's no hand limit, you can have as many as you want. You use them when it says, so for example, I've just got this. Play this card after you roll the die. You may re-roll 1 die. Bonus. Play this card when activating a monster during your turn. That monster may perform an additional attack action this turn in addition to its normal 2 actions. So these are cool, and you want to use these, keep an eye on these. And then you would activate your monsters in a very, very similar way as the heroes. You get 2 actions with each monster in a group, and you do it per group. So I'll do that card, do the groups, then I'll do that card with the groups. So for example, let's get this Etting to go and knack somebody, shall we? So I could go 3 to there, and one slightly different with the monsters, they only get 1 attack per turn. Heroes have 2 actions, so they can do 2 attacks. Monsters only get 1. So I could, on my card it says I attack with a blue and a yellow and a red. Sorry. Now one thing I didn't mention on these dice is the blue one has an X. If you get an X, you miss. Bad luck. Otherwise, you're just trying to get as many hearts as you can against their shields. Essentially, that's how the combat system works. You have a hero quest with skulls and shields, very similar. But that just means you fail, so you don't want that. So the Etting also has some special abilities. I've got reach, which means I can get I can go an extra space. If I get a surge, I can get +3 damage, so that's good for me. And throw, that little arrow means an action, and I can get that ability. They're on all the hero cards as well. If you see a little arrow, all it means is you get. Use an action, do this. So I'm not going to read all that out, but essentially it means I can chuck somebody across the room. This is quite interesting because choose a hero. I said I wouldn't read it, but choose a hero adjacent to this monster. That hero must test strength. Let's zip to the hero card here. If you see down here, these are these little abilities that we mentioned before. That is like your skills essentially. Strength, I don't know, wisdom I think, I really can't remember, but you get the basic idea. So if a wizard was to be thrown across the room, he has 1. And to test, you roll a number of defence dice. 2 seconds. You roll a brown and a white one. No, a black one is it? Sorry, black one. Apologies. And I've got to get equal to or less than whatever that stat is. And a wizard has 1 because he's not very strong. I've failed, so he would be lobbed across the room. If it was a character with better strength, then I might not have been chucked across the room. So anyway, so that's how you test for the abilities, and you just do it whenever it prompts you on the card. So yeah, I could throw somebody and lob them across the room, but I won't. We'll keep it simple. I'm just going to attack him. So a red one and a blue one. Roll. Oh, severe. So 5 hearts, 5 damage. I've got a surge there, which means I can have 3. So that's 8 damage. Let's say I was going for the wizardy person and being a bit cruel. The wizard, now, I'm not going to read all the cards. I might have something defensive there. But it's just a demo and it's just an example. So I'm going to roll just his raw. Oh dear me, so 5 wounds. No, I'm lying to you, 8 wounds. And he has 8 wounds. So in that case, I would be knocked down. And there we go. So, in a nutshell, I think that is the basis of the rules for the game. It seems to be very quick, seems to be very cool. If you take your head out of it being a dungeon crawl or more a tactical game, you can have a lot of fun with it, I think. The one thing I haven't mentioned yet is there is campaign play. So what you can do is you can either play all of these games separately, just pick a question in the book and play it, or you play the introduction. The quest in the book is a standard. The campaign in the book is a standalone campaign. The idea is you play it all the way through, but there's so many options you can take on the way through. You can play it again. You can play it many times. There's an introductory adventure, then you do, I think it's 3 quests, and then an interlude quest, and then another 3 quests, and then the end of the campaign. But all those quests in between may change depending on if you've been successful in your previous quest, which is cool. Also, in between quests you get experience points, so you can buy new abilities for your characters. You get gold from the things that you search, which means you can buy things from the shop. And this is where the little 1 and a 2 comes in, the Act 1 and the Act 2, because the first 3 adventures are considered Act 1, which means it's simple, not simple, it's easier, the monsters aren't as hard. So there's an Act 1 shop, and there's Act 1 abilities and cards. But the second act, obviously going to be meatier and harder, so it steps things up a bit. One last cool thing about the campaign, which I like, it's the usual thing. You end the quest, you get experience points, you go shopping. But when you go and find go to the next quest, there's a map on the back here. You always start in the city. However, when you choose your next quest, there's a path you have to take. So say for example, I chose the next quest to be here. You go down this path, and you look at each of these symbols, and you pull a travel card. And the travel cards, the Overlord would have a look. So for example, Windy River, no event in this case. But there's lots of cool things. Arrows fly from behind the boulders ahead, and then each hero tests whatever that is, and suffers 1 health if he fails. Now you've got to go into the mission with that, so that's bad news. So you want to try and avoid that. But some of the quests, you've got quite a long way to go. So you've got quite a few events that could transpire along the way. So I like that. It adds a bit more flavour to it, a bit more background. And I think that's it. So it looks good. If I've missed anything, as per usual, I'll put the arrow to at the bottom. If I've got anything wrong, which is quite likely. So thank you very much for watching. This is available on the shop now to buy. We'll put the link at the bottom of the YouTube video. We've got a forum you can come and have a look at. We've got Twitter, we've got Facebook. Come and say hello, and like us and follow us. And I hope you've enjoyed it. So until next time, bye bye.